Nityananda Ram Jaya Nityananda Ram. Jaya Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Jaya Nityananda Ram. Jaya Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Jaya Nityananda Ram. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. Jaya Nimai Nitai Jaya Nimai Nitai. Jaya Nitai Nimai Jaya Nitai Nimai.
Where's your car though? You left it at Jittabai's house. Get it from him. Okay. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Karo More Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Karo More Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Hare Krishna.
Doya Karo More Toma bina ke doyalu jagat samsare
के दयालु जगत संसारे
तुम बिना के दयालु जगत संसारे
तुम बिना
पतित पावन हेतु तव अवतारा तव अवतारा पतित पावन हेतु तव अवतारा मोसमा पतिता प्रभु न पाइबे आरा मोसमा पतिता प्रभु मोसमा पतिता प्रभु ना पाइबे आरा आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी प्रेमानंद सुखी आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी
आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद
प्रेमानंद सुखी कृपा बोलो खाना करो आमी बोलो
boro dukhi.
Kripa koro, kana koro, ame bora dukhi.
Kripa bolo khana koro, ami boro dukhi.
Kripa koro, kana koro, ame bora dukhi.
Mahaprabhu Nityananda Premananda Shuki. Mahaprabhu Nityananda Premananda Shuki. Mahaprabhu Nityananda Premananda Shuki.
Mahaprabhu Nityananda, Premananda Shuki.
Kripa bholo kana koro, ami boro dukhi.
Kripa koro, kana koro, ame bora dukhi.
Kripa bolo kana koro, ami boro dukhi.
Kripa koro, kana koro, ame bora dukhi.
Doya koro Sritapati Advaita Gosha.
Daya koro Sitapati, Advaita Gosai.
Doya koro Sitapati Advaita Gosha.
Daya koro Sitapati, Advaita Gosai.
Tava kripa vale pai Chaitanya Nityananda.
Kripa bale pai Shri Chaitanya Nitai.
Tava kripa vale pai Chaitanya Nityananda.
Kripa bale pai Shri Chaitanya Nitai.
Aha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunata.
Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha.
Aha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunata.
Aha Swarup Sanatana Paragunatha
Bata Juga Shri Jivaha Prabhu Lokanatha
Bhat Juga Shri Jivaha Prabhu Lokanatha
Bata Juga Shri Jivaha Prabhu Lokanatha
Bhat Juga Shri Jivaha Prabhu Lokanatha
Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa
Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa
Doya Koro Shri Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa
Doya Koro Shri Acharya
Ramachandra Sangamade Narottama Dasa
Ramachandra Sangamange Narottama Dasa
Ramachandra Sangamade Narottama Dasa
Ramachandra Sangamange Narottama Dasa
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Karo More
Krishna
Chaitanya Prabhu
Daya Koro More
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Karo More
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koro More
Toma bina ke dhoyalu jagat samsare
Amina Te Dayalu Jagat Samsare
Toma bina ke dhoyalu jagat samsare
Tom Bina Te Dayalu Jagat Samsare
Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Shoke Aha Prabhu
Nityananda
Premananda Shoke Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Shoke
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Shoki
Mahaprabhu Nityananda Premananda Shoki
Nita 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 Gauranga 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 Nityananda
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 Nityananda Nityananda Nityananda Gauranga
Nityananda 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 Gauranga
Nityananda 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 Gauranga
Nityananda 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 Gauranga
Nityananda Ram Jaya Nityananda Ram Nityananda Ram Jaya Nityananda Ram Gaura 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 Hari Gaura 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 Hari Nita 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 Gauranga 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 Gaura Hari Gaura 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 Hari Nita 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 Gauranga Nita 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 Gauranga Nita 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 Gauranga Nita 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 Gauranga Nita Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare
Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare
Nitai Chaitanya Chandra Gaura Hare
Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare
Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare.
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 Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare. Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare. Gaura 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 Hare. Gaura 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 Hare. Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare.
Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare.
Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare.
Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hare.
Nitai 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 Gauranga. Nitai 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 Gauranga. Tiny 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 Gauranga. Tiny 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 Gauranga. Tiny 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 Gauranga. Tiny 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 Gauranga. Tiny 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 Gauranga. Tiny 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 Gauranga. Tiny 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 Gauranga. Tiny 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 Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hari. Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hari. Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hari. Nitai Gaura Chandra Gaura Hari. Gaurangan, 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 Nityananda, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo, 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 Gaura Haribo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, hey, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Gaura 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 Hare,
Gaura 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 Hare,
Tani 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 Gauranga,
Tani 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 Gaurango,
Tani 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 Gauranga,
Tani 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 Gaurango,
Tani 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 Gauranga,
Tani 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 Gaurango,
Tani 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 Gauranga,
Tani 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 Gaurango,
Gaura 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 Hare,
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 Tani 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 Gauranga,
Tani 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 Gaurango,
Tani 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 Gauranga,
Tani 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 Gaurango,
Tani 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 Gauranga,
Tani 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 Gaurango,
Tani 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 Gauranga,
Tani 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 Tani
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada,
Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada,
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol,
Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol.
Jai Gaura Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Hari Bol,
Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol.
Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura
Hari Hari Bol.
Ki
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada Ki
Jai.
Oh, Brahmanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for the wonderful mesmerizing Kirtan. Today Kirtan was dedicated in the memory of Alison Moreno, Mataji. So we will have the class at 7:30 by His Holiness H.C. Mahatma Prabhu, followed by Aarti at 8:10 and 8:30 Prasadam to go. So our today grand sponsor are Rasikendra Prabhuji and Padadri Mataji. Outdoor sponsors are Krishna Seva Prabhu and Radha Kund Mataji. Prasadam sponsor Hari Vallabh Prabhu and Rangamani Mataji, Kshitij Prabhu and Siza Kapoor Mataji. And today cooking is done by Paladhuli Mataji, Ganga Mataji, Anand Leela, Lata Mataji, Sumitra Sharma Mataji, Mamta Dham Mataji, Kamlesh Mataji, Rachna Mataji, Viva Mataji, Hema Mataji, and Kamla Sundara Mataji, and other devotees who came to help. I request everyone please follow the COVID protocol and maintain the safe distance. Family members can sit together. So His Holiness H.V. Mahatma Prabhu has been serving ISKCON since 1969. Maharaj Ji received first and second initiation from His Divine Grace Eksi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada in 1970. Maharaj has served in 14 different temples since joining ISKCON as temple president 4 times, book distributor, Sankirtan leader, college preacher, membership director, VIH teacher and co-director, Bhakti Life co-director. Maharaj Ji is the founder of Touchstone Training, a company that teaches the practice of devotional service through interactive seminars and worships. Maharaj Ji is also a facilitator in Bhagavad Life, producer of live and online workshops and Japa retreat. Now, with further delay, I just let Maharaj Ji to enlighten us with today's class. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. I'm not that strong. It's okay. Oh, wow. And pull this out a little. Gauranga, Nityananda. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I have to tighten up. Joy, Joy Nitai. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namane Namaste, Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sanyavadi Paschatya Dasatarine. It's nice to be here with all of you. I think I haven't been here for 6 years. I used to come here quite often, about 25 years ago. Hare Krishna. So today is such an amazing day, such an auspicious day for us to appreciate, to recognize, appreciate, and meditate upon how we've been saved and are being saved and will be saved by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. I would like to begin by just discussing the concept of kripa or mercy. I think it's clear to all of us who've been practicing Krishna consciousness and benefiting from it that there is a special feature, you could say, or an aspect of Krishna consciousness that enables us to come to a level of spiritual advancement that is completely impossible to achieve by our own endeavor. You all have that realization? We're very limited, especially in Kali Yuga, of what we can achieve. And we all understand by the practice of Krishna consciousness what this word means, conditioned soul, which Prabhupada uses many, many times. We are conditioned souls. If you don't know what that means, stop chanting Hare Krishna for a week and you'll understand what it means to be a conditioned soul. Conditioned soul is one who is controlled by their mind and senses in a way that's been conditioned for lifetimes to repeat certain behaviors and actions subconsciously as habit, based around the concept that I am in the center of the universe, I'm the controller, and I'm the enjoyer, and everything is meant for me, and get as much as I can and enjoy it. That's conditioned soul. And that conditioning has been going on since time immemorial. And one drop of Nitai's mercy destroys it. We have stories of people who heard about Krishna consciousness, or even by accident, were able to see Prabhupada. They saw him, they looked into his eyes, Prabhupada looked into their eyes, and that was it. Their material life was finished. 3 seconds, gone. What's happening here? That's called kripa, mercy. It's not something that can ordinarily happen. Now, it's so interesting for me to meditate on how much faith Prabhupada had in the holy name, because, I don't know if you know this, but the way this movement began, it began with people basically off the street who were convinced or motivated in some way to move in the temple and practice Krishna consciousness, who really had no idea what they were doing at all. There was one professor who came to the movement early on, and he talked to some devotees, and later he gave an interview and he said, those devotees had no idea what they were doing. You know, just, Swamiji said this, Swamiji said that. They have no idea, any history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, any of the culture, the philosophy, very, very little. Those people were the only people Prabhupada had to work with. That's who, you work with what you have, and that's who was coming. Off the street. Off the street, 1 year, you go to Houston, you go to Dallas, you go to Atlanta, you go to San Jose. I was to go to San Jose. May 1970, I went to San Jose. You go here, you go there. You go to Vancouver, you go to Santa Fe, New Mexico, you go to Laguna Beach. 1 year, 1 year and a half, 9 months. No idea what Krishna consciousness is other than, gulab jamuns and kirtan, basically. and Bhagavad Gita, something Bhagavad Gita. Why would Prabhupada send those people who knew so little out and tell those people that you go out and you repeat what I have taught you, you give people the holy name, you give them prasadam, and this movement will spread, and hundreds or thousands or millions of people will come. This is what he was telling us. How could he say that? Because Prabhupada understood the mercy of Nityananda is infinite, unlimited. And the mercy of Nityananda through the process of bhakti in Kali Yuga could save anybody. That's the nature of that mercy. It's indiscriminate. It doesn't matter what you've done. Om apavitra pavitrava sarvavastam kutopiva. Wherever you've been, whatever you've done, wherever you're coming from, this life, last life, it doesn't matter. Some of you may know this story. Beautiful story. There was a devotee, he was a sannyasi, and he contacted some guru or yogi, and he became attracted, and he left the temple. And he was living quite near the temple, actually living outside with this yogi. And so Prabhupada asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj, please find him. Preach to him, bring him back. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj was trying, and then I think one day he found him. Maybe Krishna Kripa, you know better than I. Found this devotee. I think he was like standing on his one leg, all day or something, And Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Prabhupada, it's impossible, I give up. He's too fallen, he's too far gone, I can't bring him back. And Prabhupada said, you do not understand the forgiveness of Lord Nityananda. It is unlimited. So, it was so funny. Prabhupada went back to India with his dancing white elephants in about October 1970. Up to around 50, close to 50 Americans, right? And so at that time, many people in India, even some members of Gaudiya Math, our own Gaudiya Vaishnavas, did not believe that Americans could become Vaishnavas. It's interesting. Think about it. They didn't believe it, and Prabhupada came here to do it. He had 100% understood the principle of Nityananda's mercy. It can go to the lowest of the low and even lower, and bring them up and the highest of the high. And Prabhupada brought back these dancing white elephants ecstatically doing kirtan, and still people were seeing them and still not believing in Lord Nityananda's mercy that he could do that. That's interesting, isn't it? Another interesting thing. 1968, Prabhupada started in 65. Really, you could say 66. So we're really talking about 2 years. Average age of the devotee in 1968 would have been around 18, 19. A few older, a few younger. I was 18 in 1968, and most devotees are around my age, within a year or two, so maybe max 20, average age. 1968, Prabhupada said, I do not know how long I will live. You all must carry out this movement, and you all must become guru. Now think about that. These people, a year ago, we won't say what they were doing, but you know what they were doing. And a year later, he's saying, you will save the world, you will become guru. I'm just giving you these stories so you understand what is the mercy of Nityananda. That is the mercy of Nityananda. You can take someone off the street and tell him, in a little while, in about 6 years, you will make your own disciples. And you're like, what? Who are you talking to? Me? You. Those people who Prabhupada pulled off the street, they're the leaders of this movement. Very advanced devotees with very deep realizations, writing books, and you read them and you think, this is deep. Where did this devotee, how did he understand this? Writing books on the holy name. How is he understanding this about the holy name? This is deep. He's going so deep. Writing books on Krishna Lila. How is he understanding this? Going so deep. Same people. Prabhupada saw the mercy of Nityananda can take a person from any position all the way to Vrindavan, to understand Radha and Krishna. In the song by Narottam Das Thakur, he is saying, why can't I remember the beginning of the song? Nitai, Nitai Pada Kamala, that song. Koti Chandra Shushitala, that song. He sang, without the mercy of Nitai, you cannot understand Radha and Krishna. It is to understand Radha and Krishna for the average man or woman on the street is impossible. Your conditioned soul cannot understand. Even it's difficult for a devotee to understand because this Leela is beyond lust. If you have lust, you can't understand it. That's why you can't understand it, because it has nothing to do with lust. Nobody can understand it. By the mercy of Nitai, you can understand Radha Krishna Leela, the highest thing. Ras Leela, the highest thing. You can understand it. You, me, all of us. Is that amazing? That's the mercy of Nitai. That's what the mercy does. And Lord Chaitanya knew that in Kali Yuga, no one is qualified. We can't ask anything of anybody. All right, do tapasya for 10 years, then get the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. No. Nobody can do anything. So, why is Mahaprabhu considered Mahabandhanaya avatar? Right? Because when you give the greatest gift to the most unqualified, what can be more magnanimous than that? You deserve to be slapped in the face, and we give you love of God. You're like the worst employee in the company. You're on the internet all day, flirting with the girls, and we give you a raise, $500,000 a year, something like that. Like, no, you should kick this guy out of the company. He's a bum. And I feel sorry for him. Let's give him $500,000. So, Mahaprabhu understood who we are and understood what he's dealing with. And Mahaprabhu so much wanted to give Krishna consciousness, he couldn't require qualification, because if he did, he couldn't give it to anybody. So he said, okay, forget it, no qualification. So I don't know if you use this word anymore, but in the early days of the movement, we had a word for a devotee who was very, very, very spiritually challenged, who would not really make the grade in temple today. You would say, when they would come to your temple and say, can I live in the temple? You would say, we'll talk about it on Sunday. And Sunday would come and you'd see them and you'd run the other way. Not this person, not in the temple. That was like your average devotee in those days. So amongst that, some were really much worse than others. And we always let them stay in the temple, and we labeled them. Who knows what we called them? Mercy case. Mercy case. Leave him alone, Prabhu. He's a mercy case. Why did we do that? Because Nitai's mercy is so powerful, it can uplift the most fallen. Right? I was telling the story, maybe yesterday. Had a godbrother, his name is Devarshi. So Devarshi joined in San Francisco, maybe 1968, 1969. If you know anything about the history of America, San Francisco in those days was the heart of the hippie movement. And the hippies experimented a lot with drugs. They said mind-altering, but it was more like mind-destroying than mind-altering in the long run, at least for many. And so this devotee, it took him 12 or so hours to finish his rounds. So what that meant was no seva. Just living in the temple, eating chapatis and dal and japa. Why did it take him so long? Because he had taken a lot of drugs and he couldn't focus, This was way before anybody knew about ADHD. This was way beyond ADHD. This was like, each space out was like a light year. Hare Krishna. 3 hours gone, Hare Krishna. I'm saying this because I saw it. I saw him. I was there when this happened. So they wrote Srila Prabhupada and said, he's not doing any service. It takes him all day to chant his rounds. What should we do? Prabhupada said, if that's all he can do, that's all he can do. Let him stay in the temple and chant. Why did Prabhupada do that? Because he knew if he chanted, eventually the mercy of Nitai would creep up on him and he would become purified. So, the reason I'm saying this is because I think this helps us when you put it into this context where you see it in action, then you start to understand, oh, now I understand what mercy is. And now let's take it to ourselves. Raise your hand if you don't need any mercy. Okay, this is good. Finally in ISKCON we agreed on something. This might be the only thing. Well, and gulab jamans, this and gulab jamans, and sweet rice, we agree on. So, we all need mercy, right? What is the power of that mercy? Mukam karoti vachalam, you're a dumb man, you speak poetry. We have this experience, don't we? You go out on book distribution, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do, just do it, Krishna will give you the words. And then at the end of the day, devotee comes back, he goes, I can't believe what I said, that was so clever. And he took the book, that was like, or you're giving a lecture, I gave a lecture this morning, and I was all excited giving a lecture because I was saying things I never said before. And I said something, write that down so I remember this. I said, this is what I said. I said, Prabhupada didn't come on a boat. He was blown by compassion across the Atlantic because that's what was pushing Prabhupada. And I said that, and I thought, that was pretty cool. That's a good point. So, I'll see you next time. Say it next time. Sudevi, explain that to me in English. Oh, I said it so I can say it again. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Somebody write that down for me. Prabhupada did not come on a boat. He traveled on compassion because... Anyway, I said that. I was saying that none of his godbrothers came. I said this was not just the order of Bhaktisiddhanta. It was the compassion that forced Prabhupada. That's what pushed him. And that's what pushed Prabhupada the whole time. So I was talking about that and I go, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that before I began speaking. So we all have that experience. What's happening? What's happening? Nitai's mercy. So when I was a temple president in Vancouver, I had just turned 20, and I used to pray every night. I said, Prabhupada, please send devotees. Please send devotees. I'm like, I'm useless. Please send devotees. Every night I'd go to bed before obeisances, please. Because who am I? I've been a devotee less than a year. What could I do? So one day this devotee called up. He said, I'm visiting like 8 of my friends over, in Vancouver Island. We took a boat, went to see them. They're all becoming devotees. We spent 2 days with them. We went back to our temple. They called us up and said, they're all becoming devotees. And these were all the devotees that end up being the leaders of Vancouver after I left in 72. Like, they go, Mahatma Prabhu, you made Bhavadak devotee, you made Balakrishna devotee, you made this Rochana devotee. No, I was just praying, I didn't know what I was doing. I could barely tie my shoes. So that's how the mercy works. So when you have those experiences and you understand mercy, you start to become a little fearless. You don't become so worried about how will I progress spiritually, because if you have that behind you and you have faith in it and you pray for it, anything's possible. That's the meaning of Nitai's mercy, no matter how fallen you are. 1968, you all become, okay, let's imagine this. You're all 20 years old, You've been coming to the temple for a year, not even 20. Some of you are 18, 16. And Prabhupada is sitting here and says, you will all have to become guru. What are you thinking right now? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life, right? Aren't you thinking like that? Impossible. You want to try it? Yeah, yeah. Yes. You want to try it? So when you live through that, it changes you. It changes your faith. It changes your consciousness. Because here, you're feeling so unqualified, and your spiritual master is saying, do something impossible. And he has full faith in you that you can do it. You know what Prabhupada told me once? He said, such a beautiful thing. He said, this was when I was a president, he said, you should think, he said, you should pray to Krishna to help you run this temple. I had been a devotee, took over the temple, I hadn't been a devotee a year yet. And I had just turned 20, so I felt pretty helpless. Like, how am I supposed to do this? I went up there and they told me, the rent is $250 a month. This was what it was in those days. And there's $500 in the bank. So I went to the bank to get the rent. He missed 1 0. There was only 50. It's like, okay, what do we do now? And like the day the rent is due, a devotee joins. And he makes a donation. How much do you think he donated? Yeah, exactly. What we needed. So when you have these experiences, you start to see, oh, it's not just me. There's something beyond. So, Prabhupada said, you should pray to Krishna to give you the ability to run the temple. And you should think, if Krishna doesn't give you this mercy, everyone in the temple will leave. And I was thinking, that's right, they will, because I don't know what I'm doing, right? And in 1 year, we went from 4 devotees in 1 year. We went 4 devotees, I was one of them. 3 of them left to other temples, and like a year and a half later, we had 23 devotees. Like, how did I do that? Because I prayed every night. I'm useless, Prabhupada. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help? And you know what Prabhupada said? When he heard that, he said, Mahatma Das is very sincere. Otherwise, why would Krishna send so many devotees? I'm not saying this so you think I'm a great devotee, but it was just, I wasn't capable, and I prayed, and Krishna helped. So it doesn't matter if you're not capable. Only thing that matters is if you get the mercy, because the mercy will do it. This is how it works. It's an empowerment that goes through you, and then you act with that empowerment in a way you couldn't act otherwise. When Srila Prabhupada came to New York, he was carrying what? The kripa, the avesh of Nityananda Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada's godbrother glorified him. Srila Sridhar Maharaj, who Prabhupada spent a lot of time, he glorified with him, and he analyzed Prabhupada's success. And his analysis is so beautiful. He said that Srila Prabhupada was Shaktivesh avatar. We've said that many times, haven't we? Prabhupada Shaktivesh. Then he asked a question, which I never thought. He says, who's Shakti? Avesh means empowered. With Shakti, who's Shakti? I go, wow, interesting question. He said, Nityananda Shakti. I'll explain in a minute. Then he said, why did Nityananda give his Shakti? He said, because Prabhupada had no desire in his heart other than to serve. And therefore, he could be used as an instrument. He said, therefore he was empowered by Nityananda. And then he said something that blew my mind. Or as they say in India, it was mind-blasting. You still say that in India? Mind-blasting only. He said, what? Oh, this might be body blasting also. Ecstatic blast. He said, Because Srila Prabhupada had the Shakti of Nityananda, was empowered, there was absolutely no difference in the result Prabhupada got than if Nityananda Prabhu went personally to 26th Second Avenue and preached. It was the same Nityananda. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, he's dancing. That is one of the most ecstatic things I ever heard. Isn't it? But I think we can say that Prabhupada saw that we could all get that kripa if we opened our hearts. If we had only desire to serve, that Nityananda would then use us. In 1972, I had the great fortune of living in Los Angeles, and Prabhupada was there for 3 months straight. So people say, how many times did you see Prabhupada? I saw him for 90 days in Bhagavatam class, day after day after day after day. You know, it's like, what was that like? Can't tell you, can't describe it. There's no way, right? So one lecture, Prabhupada said, so this movement will spread with you or without you. We could write a song. This movement will spread with you or without you. And then Prabhupada said, if you stay, you will get the credit. If you leave, someone else will get the credit. So what does that mean? It didn't matter who stayed and who left. It just mattered that you had a desire, and then he could use you, and you would be used, and you would get the credit, and the job would get done. It's going to get done by somebody. Because Nityananda's kripa is going to go on the heart of whoever is willing to spread Krishna consciousness. That's it. That's Nityananda kripa. So that's why this day is so special, because this is the day to appreciate that, to meditate on it, to feel it, to pray for it, and especially to think, what kind of kripa do I need? Because I'm so kripa-less, right? What kind of kripa do I need for my spiritual life? What do I need for my service? I'll just be very vulnerable and personal. I was asked as early as 19... What time do I have to stop? 5 minutes? What? 8:10. So I was asked, by some devotees as early as 89 to become guru. And I was like, nah, I'm not qualified. You know. So then, Vrindavani, she lived here. You know Vrindavani. She's a pretty persistent person, right? It was kind of one of those like Bhakti Siddhanta and Gaur Kishore. You don't initiate me, I'll kill myself. You know, she kind of didn't give me a way out. So that was in 2012 or 11 or something. So I said, all right, you know, easier to take disciples than be pestered by Vrindavani. So, how many of you know Vrindavani? Yeah, so you understand what I'm saying, right? She wants something, she gets it, right? Anyway, it was a good thing. It was Krishna's mercy. So then I was thinking, okay, so I had a little talk with Krishna, you know. I said, Krishna, shh, we got to talk about this, you know, because if I'm going to do this, it's for me, I'm jumping off the mountain, and I need you to catch me. Can we do this together? Because I don't really think I can do it alone. And that's been my meditation the whole time. So my conclusion was, okay, why not? Because if I get the kripa, if Krishna helps, then I can do it. And practically every day I pray, Krishna, Prabhupada, give me this kripa to do this. This is I can't mess up. That was what our movement was practically destroyed by leaders not being strict. So, so far so good. As long as like the alcoholics, you know, they wake up and they pray, Lord, get me through this day, dry, no alcohol. So it's Lord, get me through this day, no maya. Take it a day at a time, right? So I feel very strongly that when you put yourself out like that, Krishna, the kripa comes if you're willing. And you can do things, amazing things. And so many wonderful things have happened in my life, putting myself out on a limb. Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada, the carrier of Nityananda Kripa to the world. And now you understand why I said Prabhupada came on the boat of compassion, the boat of Kripa. Because if you didn't have that level of Kripa and faith and mercy, you wouldn't come, right? You would just stay in India. It's a lot easier. It's certain. It's very certain what will happen. So I think that's I think it's important to understand Prabhupada is the carrier of Nityananda's Kripa. And unless a person could carry that Kripa, they could not possibly start a movement in the West. It would have been impossible. It couldn't have happened. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. And now a word. Oh yeah, okay. So we're gonna have this amazing kirtan right now. Are you ready to dance? The mercy of Nityananda is floating today. And if we catch that mercy, we can dance like mad men and mad women unlimitedly. Yes? Even all the old guys. I'm going to make you dance, all you old guys. Okay? Hare Krishna. Oh yeah. Okay, he's going to lead us. Haribo. Nityananda. Hare Krishna. So I guess, Arti's going to start in a minute, so we can stand up and be counted by Nilamadava. Gaura Premanandi.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Namayom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Shanyavani Paschatya Desatharine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Shanyavani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Nitai, Nitai. Oh, Nitai Gauranga Jai, Nitai Gauranga. Oh, Nitai Gauranga Jai, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Oh, Nitai Gauranga Jai, Nitai Gauranga. Oh, Nitai Gauranga Jai, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jai, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jai, Nitai Gauranga. Oh, Nitai Gauranga Jai, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jai, Nitai Gauranga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai, Nitai, Nitai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Gaura, Gaura, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaurango. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Nitai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Bo, Nitai Nitai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaura. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Oh, Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Oh, Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Hey, Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Oh, hey, Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Oh, Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Oh, Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Oh! Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Gaura Hari. Oh, Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Gaura Hari. Oh, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gaura. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. Nitai Gauranga Jaya. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga. 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 Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga. Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga. Nitai, 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 Nitai Gauranga. Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Radha Mila Madhav, Radha Mila Madhav, Radhe. Radha Mila Madhav, Radha Mila Madhav, Radhe. Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Nitai Gaur Hare Bol. Nitai Gaur Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Nitai Gaur Hare Bol. Nitai Gaur Pramanande, Hare Hare Bol. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Puri Brajak Acharya Ashtotara Sutta Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace. Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajak Acharya. Ashtotara Sutta Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvait Gadadhar Shvashari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Navati Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Shamaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Ritai Go Pramanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Valada, Valada, Dhyani, Valada, Hiranya, Kasipur Bhakshaha, Shilatanka, Nakalaye. Etani singa, paratani singa, paratani singa. Yato yato yami, tato nishinha. Yato yami tato nishinha. Bahi nisinga. Rirae nisinga, Rirae nisinga, Nishinga madim, Sharanam prapadye, Madim, Narashinga madim, Sharanam prapadye. Sharana Thava Kora Kamala Bore Nakam Adbhuta Singham Dwalita Hiranya Kashipu Thano Bringham Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tabakara Kamala Bare Nakam Arutasham Dolita Hiranyakashipum Tano Bringham Keshavadrita Narahare Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jagadisha Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Nishingadev 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 Gadev Nishingadev Jai Nishingadev Jai Nishingadev Nishingadev Jai Nishingadev Jaya Nishingadev Jaya Nishingadev Nishingadev Jaya Nishingadev Sri Nishinga Bhagavan ki Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj ki Nitai, 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 Gavu Premanandi Hare